Hey everyone, Kimber here with the Backyard Horse Enthusiast. In this episode, I am reconnecting with April Love from Holistic Horseworks. April did a full distance reading on Dakota a short while back, and she offered an 8-page reading for me of suggestions, insight, and support on how I could help my horse Dakota be his best and healthiest self. So since then, I have been following all her suggestions. Again, 8 pages, but it's not overwhelming. A little bit when you start, but we did everything from yoga stretches to essential oils, dynamite release spray. We release stuck emotions, and it's really helping him. But I wanted to check in to share with April how things were going with him. But it gets better. She also did a distance reading and a Healy session, not just one Healy healing session on me. They're distance sessions. She lives in Maui. She did multiple ones on me. So this conversation is going to turn the tables a bit with her checking in on how I've been doing. It's a casual, candid conversation, but I think you'll find it really meaningful, especially if you've ever wondered about the deeper connection between horse and human healing. All right, now let's dive in.
Coming soon, Holistic Horseworks Remedies. Take the guesswork out of your horse's health. What would you do if your horse is limping, colicking, tripping, spooking? Created for horse owners who want to troubleshoot, learn, and take action, right from your pocket to your fingertips. This app is designed for the horse person on the go who needs answers fast. Figure out what is really going on with your horse. Find natural remedies that work. Explore expert solutions to common horse health issues. Holistic Horseworks Remedies. Coming soon to Google Play and the App Store.
April, welcome back. Boy, do we got some catching up to do. My goodness, in our last interview, we discussed horses and holistic healing in them. You did a reading on my boy Dakota. Boy, did you pinpoint an awful lot. I'm going to be honest and say when I first read it was like 7 pages long, the reading on him, especially with the stuck emotions, my heart just hurt because I knew they were there, but to have it confirmed, was we love our babies, and I knew it was there, but then I read it and I'm like, and there it is, right? And now I've got to do everything to make this boy happy and healthy. And honestly, all your recommendations, I'm like, buy this, buy that, let me get this, let me get that, let me do this, let me do that. And right away started in with the yoga stretches and carrot stretches and butt tucks and like all of it, and worked really hard on developing a feel that initially felt very awkward to me because I wasn't used to doing these, and you're always second guessing, right? And now it didn't take long because both of the horses that I worked on, Dakota and his friend Goose, they let me know that they were getting relief from doing these. And it wasn't a lot. What are there, 5 to 6 stretches on there? And I do
Yoga
it.
stretches.
Yeah. And I do it after they eat their dinner and they're at their hay net, but they enjoy it so much that they just stop eating to enjoy it. Oh my gosh, it has made such a profound difference. And I'm doing the NCD drops with him as well. I got the dynamite release spray. Oh my gosh.
You
And
still have to realize that everything, that you got, I wasn't selling. Usually when people are
right,
trying to promote a program, and I'm giving you links to stuff on Amazon.
you sure
So
did.
all the products was under $150 to
Yeah.
treat wounds and detox your horse and work on scar tissue and side bone and ring bone. So I'm on the side of that counting pennies backyard horse person, not trying to, sell all these things that I get money back from.
And let's face it, I can share them with him.
Yeah,
And I have been. Let me see
good.
that. Oh, here's your NCD drug. So then I ended up getting another bottle just for me. But I am using the tea tree oil on my toe fungus and it's working
The
truly.
hoof soak,
So,
the hoof soak with the trace minerals and Epsom salt that we do for the
yep.
horses is amazing for fungal on people's feet. Or here in Hawaii, if you get a cut on your foot on the reef or something, you'll get staph. So it's a great soak even for people to detox and get deep into under the toenails and everything. So we'll have to put all those links up. But you might want to explain a little bit what the distance reading is because you went right into it, but people don't know what it is.
Well, that's where you asked me to send you pictures of Dakota, his left side, his right side, right? We did that. Um, and then you sent me, it's out here somewhere.
Yeah. So I'm like a intuitive for wellness, scanning their body. So there's a lot of animal communicators out there. Oh, the mare in the other pasture is pissing her off, or she wants this or that, and I'm not there. I'm looking for where's there pain in the body, what's out of alignment, bacterial and viral issues affecting blood systems, brain, spinal column.
Oh my
Does a horse
gosh.
have EPM? Does a horse have Lyme? What's really going on deep inside the horse?
Mhm.
And then everybody started saying, well, could you do me too? Okay, then we're going to jump into holistic wellness for people.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, it started with the syn 8 page, not a synopsis, but you're reading on Dakota. And that really, I was like, there was so much that I suspected, but then I had it confirmed by you. And it was like, okay. And that's why I right away ordered everything that you had suggested on Amazon, whatever, the Dynamite release I got from that company. Um, Even his stuck emotions didn't surprise me at all because I know his past. I know what he's been through. So that didn't surprise me. I was just sad that I hadn't addressed them properly. And I did apologize to him for overlooking those things as well, which I really feel like he appreciated hearing.
The one thing that I've noticed is our sentient animals, the horses, the dogs, the cats, are trying to take on our issues.
Worse.
So a lot of times horse communicators will say these aren't horse emotions, but
Yeah.
they're trying to take on ours. They're trying to take on your dog or cat will mirror kind of health issues that people is having. So a lot of my students have a hard time working on their own horses because they block us. They're like, oh, you're so busy. You have so many issues. I don't want you to know my tooth is hurting and this is, and all this is going on
Worse.
in my body. I just say they're sentient beings just suffering in silence.
Yes.
That you just don't know every day as we get older, you get out of bed a little slower. It's the same thing with the horses. They just know they're happy to see you, but they might not want to take right lead canter, or they might have sand or stones in their intestines that hurt when they trot and canter. So those are all the things I ask about.
Yeah. And you found 54 stuck emotions in me, which again did not surprise me at all. And I'm very aware that probably out of everyone in my very large family, I'm probably carrying the most generational trauma. And and I know that I was kind of called to do the healing work and release those past 16 generations and also my own children and family going forward as well. So I wasn't shocked, and the other reason I wasn't shocked when you shared that with me was this whole winter I've been beyond blue and could not put a finger on it. So I knew it was something in there that was just stuck, so stuck. But then I suffered the loss of my brother very tragically being shot and killed on Thanksgiving Day. and then lost a very close friend. And then a month and a half later, another close friend. And what I've been doing is compartmentalizing all this grief and stuffing it because I had so much to do and there was not going to be any time to really sit in it and process it. But when
What
you
our
did,
listeners don't know is that I had offered a distance reading for you.
right,
So
right,
that's what we're going into now, what came up on Kimberly's wellness intuitive scan.
yeah.
Do
Oh, it was
you remember everything that came up?
on that scan. I
We
don't know.
talked about dental issues,
Oh,
trapped
yes.
emotions.
The trapped emotions, the dental issues have been ongoing. I lost 3 teeth during COVID. And that when I went to the dentist, they were not doing restorative work. They were like, nope, just emergency extractions and that's it. But I still have teeth that are bothering me. And I'm quite frankly afraid to go back to the dentist because I know they're going to want to yank more or do a root canal or more crowns. And I'm just kind of stuck as far as what I want to do going forward with that. So I'm just living in pain with that, living in pain with the what I know the stuck emotions are doing to me physically. And it's been months and months of chest pain, very bad chest pain on my left side that just
And that
it
came up in the
hurts.
reading as something in left lung or left breast. I couldn't differentiate the area. I just knew. So when I kind of like look into the body, they're just kind of dark areas. So it's not vibrant, it's not live. So we're just asking more of why is this area of the body not vibrant and live and able to heal itself?
Yeah, and then the stuck ribs, the two stuck ribs, which makes sense because what you didn't know, April, is that 10 years ago I was out training. I was a cyclist and I was out doing a 25-mile ride and got hit head on, went through the windshield of a car. Yeah. And it for weeks, every time Spine and Sport worked on me, they would have to inject me 3 times on each side of the neck just to be able to touch my neck and manipulate anything. I was in so much pain and had so much head trauma. All the crystals in my inner ears were so disrupted. That took 3 4 months to get my equilibrium back so that when I would turn my head or even my eyes, if I shifted them, they would do this and I couldn't focus because I'd be like, oh, it was awful, awful, awful. Hematomas everywhere. My body took I mean, come on, right? Even though a month later I was out mountain biking, still healing, but that I had to get back on a bike and ride and stay active. Also the trauma endured from that experience. It's always a fear when you're an avid cyclist, as I had been for decades. You always know it's not an if, it's a when. When am I going to get hit by a car? And it's not your fault. I did everything right, but that car took me out. They didn't see me. They wanted to try to turn, fast, figured, I'm here, but guess what? I'm going 35 miles an hour on a bike. I can
Yeah.
catch it pretty fast. You can't turn fast enough. So, boom, right through their windshield I went. So it was interesting that you found that stuckness again. That did not surprise me, but then I understood why I never addressed that. Those have been stuck for 10 years. And I knew, April, when you reached out and said, I want to do this reading on you, in the back of my mind, I knew you were going to find a lot. And I also knew that if I didn't do this, I was going to drop freaking dead. That's the truth. I knew I
Just
was
as
killing myself.
just as women, we just keep going, taking care of the horses and the dogs and everyone else, and we
Everyone.
don't drop down and say, what is it I need today to thrive? So that's my goal, is getting back into chakras and stored traumas and cranial sacral and things affecting central nervous system and emotions. And our animals will not start healing until we start doing it for ourselves. The horses just keep trying to take on our stuff.
And here's the difference too, right? So I think you started the Healy on me Thursday evening, right?
So let's
And
talk about that though. So Healy
there's
is
the
a
Healy.
microcurrent. And I send distance sessions to people that offer this for me. And people are like, well, how can that happen when I'm sleeping in bed? I don't know. Everything is intention. I've laid in bed while someone in Colorado did a cranial sacral session on me distantly, and I could feel that, but that just takes so long, involves energy. And I learned about this in 2020. It came out and how I have it set up. I had to apologize because you probably wouldn't get a good night's sleep. And I didn't tell you that ahead of
You
time.
didn't,
But
you didn't.
I did tell you don't drink any alcohol, have a glass of water before bed. And I
Yep.
send the healing frequencies. But we also did auras and chakras, which is old emotions from traumas in our childhood, and the digital nutrition scan to find out, do you mind if I share what you weren't
Share,
absorbing?
you have my permission to share everything and anything you need to. I am completely transparent in my journey of healing.
So most of the things you weren't absorbing magnesium and zinc and vitamin C was really high for you. Everything is that was for metabolism, detoxing, cardiovascular, and vision.
My vision
So
is
if right, if you are not assimilating these nutrients, I have a whole sheet. If you look up what does, so if you're not doing, let's say, zinc, growth of cells, building proteins, healing damaged tissue, and supporting a healthy immune system, also involved with, sense of taste and smell, you're going to have the issues of not having enough zinc, and the same thing with magnesium and B's, and all the B's is about thyroid and being able to actually sleep deep. So when I send the digital nutrition program, and it's actually putting the frequencies of the B's and the C's and the zinc into your body, unfortunately, you're not going to sleep really good that night, but the next night you usually do. And
And you
then
didn't tell me though, April. It was the next day, Friday morning. I get up and I'm like, that was the worst night's sleep in a while, right? And I was kind of bummed. And I wasn't really thinking about the fact that you had done the scan on the Healy on me the night before. All I was concerned with was, oh my gosh, I have 3 houses I have to do today. How am I going to have enough energy for that? And I made it. But here's the other crazy thing. And I shared with you because it kind of freaked me out. I got done with the third house and I get on the highway and I'm in my car. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to cry. I need to cry so bad. And then I'm sobbing uncontrollably.
hopefully you pulled
20
over.
20 to 30 minutes of uh, uh, then I'm done and I'm like, I feel amazing. Like, what the heck just happened to me? It was crazy, but I did know. I'm like, you just purged so much, so much. Finally, you like opened that cap and said, go. And it was truly amazing. And I slept so much better the next night. I did what you said with the purified water. That's all I drank. I drank a half a gallon of it the first night when you said you need to go and you got to get this water. And I was like, but I have filtered water in my Berkey system. And you're like, no, it can't be that. It can't have any minerals in it. Da, da, da. Talk
Has to be
about that.
distilled water. That's one of the cures for, I used to have chronic fatigue, and they say to drink distilled water because it's pure. So when you're doing that NCD detox, you need the pure water floating through the cells, pulling all the toxins out. And if it's bound to the minerals, it's not going to do that. So I'm always more bang for your buck. If you're going to take this product that costs $25, if you buy a 4 gallon of distilled water, it's going to work better. So that's how I do it. And
Oh,
a lot of people don't know that your minerals are supposed to be taken at night. 1,000 milligrams of
mhm.
magnesium at bedtime, you're going to sleep good. You're going to be pooping regular. It shouldn't be
That's
bound to the
what's
sea.
different.
Yeah.
That's different. And I don't mean to be graphic, but your bowel movements change. I was like, whoa, wow.
Yeah, I said to take zinc with your dinner meal, your vitamin C with breakfast, and then the 1,000 milligrams of magnesium at night. So I always give people a protocol. It's not diagnosing. I always say, if this is me, this is, how I would do it. But it's, if you can't pull out the toxins, like mercury blocks magnesium, all the silver fillings and mercurochrome. Remember when we used to put
Yeah.
mercurochrome on wounds, that red stuff? That was pure
Yeah.
mercury. So mercury blocks magnesium. So I think it's sulfur blocks selenium, fluoride blocks estrogen for women. There's like a whole periodic chart of what blocks what. So it doesn't matter if you're taking magnesium and C and zinc. If your receptor sites are full and your liver and kidneys are stressed, you're not assimilating your expensive vitamins. So I get into that. Health is removing toxins, replenishing, hydrating, and then you can actually start to assimilate your nutrients. And what I like about the Healy, I actually have 17 of these now. And I use 4 on a person when I do a session on the table. So I bought a house in North Kihei that's big, and I do wellness days where people get the scan and we start working like I did with you, so that you're already working on it. And then they come stay with me for a week or two and I work on them while they're here, where I blend cranial sacral and I do the first rib release and I talk to their pelvis. And so I blend stuff, all these courses that I took, Louise Hayes, you can heal your life. And neck issues is judgments of others. Back issues is, financial support. Right side of body is male issues, left side of body is female issues. If it's on the front, I'll tell people, so you're not moving forward with releasing something about a man in your life. And they're like, yeah, okay, I can't, it was really bad. And I'm like, well, let's start on that. I learned from my ascension teacher just to say, okay, I'm open to the possibility of one day being able to forgive this person. Doesn't mean you're doing it today, but you're opening the door. We have to be able to do that for our body to get better. So Dr. Bradley Nelson book, Emotion Coding, is another course I took, which you read. And then Conscious Language, Robert Tennington Stevens, our words don't own your health issue. My bad eyesight, my cancer, my fibromyalgia. I'm always like, cancel clear. The doctor's opinion is I have this. Like when I did a reading for you, I don't ask for what your symptoms are. I'm going to scan your body. I'm like, your left eye is being affected by this deep bone infection that you have from a tooth up here. Remember, we talked about that on you?
Yeah.
So on horses and people, I'll ask the vitality of the eye and what do we need to do to get that vitality better. I've helped people with macular degeneration, and they just say, wow, I don't have to get an injection in my eye so often. And I could actually read the next line and I got my driver's license back. So with the
Wow.
FDA, we can't say that we can fix anything, but if you're asking the body what's wrong, what's blocking itself from healing, so the emotional stuff that you are releasing, the aura and chakra program in the Healy's, it just goes deep into childhood traumas, everything we have stuffed down in the body, from your best friend breaking up with you or stealing your boyfriend or your parents getting divorced. And when I look at the body, Dr. Bradley Nelson says, the emotion that you are processing at the time of the injury is going to settle in that injury site. So I've had people where I'm doing cranial on their sacrum and their pelvis, and 3 trapped emotions come up from when they fell off their bike at age 3, and we go through that. My clients are just crying on the tables. They're finally releasing that, and then their whole sacrum shifts. So there's so many different modalities out there, but everybody's kind of keeping it singularly.
Hmm.
When I connect with someone for cranial sacral and nothing's flowing in the body, I muscle test what essential oils they need and put them on their feet. And boom, just working the acupressure meridians with those oils on the feet, and the whole energy starts shooting up to the head and back down. But people don't say, do the acupressure points on the feet to get the cranial sacral wave. going and flowing better. So it's just blending, $19,000 worth of classes I took to say, oh, well, what's going on with this, area? And I teach the advanced applied kinesiology. So muscle test, what's the vitality of the product before you even ask if you need it? So if you're asking yes or no on a scale of 1 to 10, is this magnesium or is this zinc over an 8? Because there's so many issues happening at factories and stuff. You want to make sure, Purina a long time ago had issues because they make dog food and something else where they make horse feed, and it got all mixed up. So when I teach, you can put your hand on the bag of feed or the hay. What's the vitality of the hay? Is this okay for my horse? Because people are just guessing, or we're all just reading labels now. So the first thing is to muscle test, is this product over an 8? Then would it work for me? And then also ask, am I able to fully assimilate it? And you'll probably get a no. So, and we used to pray over food with intention. You can hold your vitamins and say, my intention is to fully assimilate all these vitamins today.
Great.
We have to start using our intention and our power in this toxic world where I'm on Maui. All the horses that they do hair analysis are aluminum toxic. How does that happen when, chemtrails and stuff is other places, but now it's like everywhere? So it's coming down in the water, and all the distance readings I do on horses now, viral is in all the horses' water troughs. And this is coming from the birds drinking or pooping in it. So it's going into their digestive system and also getting into their blood. So we're seeing a lot of horse with viral issues. So it's just, what's going on in the body? What does the body need? Does it need colloidal silver? Does it need NCD? Does it actually need a store-bought antibiotic? There's so many plants and so many properties of plants. So a lot of people use essential oils, but not as well as they should. And there's a phone app called Modern Essentials. Trying to look it up on my phone. It costs like $3.99. I don't know if you can kind of see that. We can
I'm
do a
writing
little
it down.
for
Modern
it.
Essentials Plus app. Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's transferred to every phone, but I teach when you look at the oil and you ask someone, okay, so, maybe they need oregano oil. I'll ask, why does this person need oregano oil, or why does the horse need oregano oil? And then when you go in there, you'll see everything that Western medicine says oregano oil helps with, but that's still a label of treating a symptom. I'm looking for the cause. So I go into the properties of the plant, and that's under their quick facts. And oregano is antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic, antiseptic to the respiratory system, antiviral, and immune stimulant. And I'll ask, what out of all of those is why this person or horse needs it? So when we do the hot oil spine treatment on horses, we're asking, and then we're looking up why, and it'll tell you if they need wintergreen, bone and cartilage pain, probably kissing spine. Or Lyme and EPM, they'll need like On Guard and oregano and all these ones that are antiviral and antibacterial. So the same thing with horses. With people, what does the body need? What's the vitality of each of your eyes, and what does your eyes need to be at a higher vitality? My mom
My
used to
eye,
always,
my eyesight's horrible now.
my
Like
mom
I
used to
have floaters. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we can get rid of floaters.
Oh,
That's the
please help
MSM
me.
sterile drops. Yeah, we'll put up some links and stuff that people can
Okay.
go to and stuff, because everything is treating a symptom and you want to look for the cause. There's natural ways to get rid of cataracts. You can go have cataract surgery, or my mom used to always say, your dad and I had to wear glasses by age 17. How come you don't have to wear glasses? I said, well, I was hiding out in the barn, not wanting to do chores for grandma and grandpa, and all we had to eat out there was carrots. So, like,
Oh,
but also, Louise Hay says when you have vision issues, you're programming yourself not to see things. What do you not want to see in your environment? left side is female. What do you not want to see about your female self? Right eye is this. So those are all the things I look into when I'm working with people, and I give them affirmations. With the client that I help with macular degeneration, she didn't want to see something in her apartment complex. People that lose their hearing. I'm like, did you have like a naggy wife that you never wanted to listen to? We program all of that. Tinnitus is totally different. That's just so much damage from the large things. But Louise Hayes has a whole bunch of amazing little things of how we are programming this breakdown in our body. And I
But
like
you
to shake all
mentioned,
that up. And
yeah, you
well, I mentioned
mentioned
that
that.
you had a deep
Yeah,
in the jaw here that's actually
yes,
going up and affecting this
it
eye.
is. It is. How do I, if it, what is a homeopathic way or holistic way to treat an issue with a tooth?
So I think I gave you that you're swishing colloidal silver, right?
Yeah.
And then I tell people to Google the oil pulling.
Oh, the coconut oil pulling.
Yeah,
Yes.
so some people use olive oil, but even olive oil that says organic only has to be
I know.
10% organic, right? So
Oh,
I like the
yeah.
doTERRA fractionated coconut oil, but walking around the house swishing. My friend is an acupuncturist, and I kept telling him, you need to work on that thing up there. I've had two people that I've told, and they said, oh, the dentist said it was fine. And the issue persisted. He ended up in ICU with that bacteria draining down in his body. And he goes, April, you were right. And the other lady had to have the tooth pulled, but it was affecting this whole ear on this side. And I kind of learned that from the older dogs that are barking all the time and they're deaf and they can't hear you. A lot of times it's their gum infections has so bad. So when a roommate of mine finally had her little terrier dog's teeth cleaned, she got her hearing back. So that kind of showed me, wow, this teeth and gum and bone stuff can actually affect things. And all of a sudden, this 14-year-old dog could hear you just from having its teeth cleaned.
Wow.
I had a mare that was anybody could ride her anywhere through anything, endurance, fall off and die trails, waterfalls, deers, bear, as long as she was following. If she was in front and she turned her head, she would shoot backwards 20 feet and nothing could stop her. And this was before I learned all of this. And I just asked the vet, what do you see in her eyes? He says, oh, I see floaters. And that can be from when the horse had a high parasitic load and they used ivermectin and there was parasites in there and they die. So then you've got that piece of something. So she would turn her head and all of a sudden this eye would see something that this eye couldn't. And I did the MSM sterile drops for, I think, 20 days and it never happened again. She could ride out in front. She could see everything. I was just like, oh my God, this is most of the horses that are spooking and shying at things. Everyone says it always spooks, when we leave the barn, not when we come back. Well, pay attention. Is it always spooking on the left side of its head and not when you're coming back because it's on the right side? So that got me
Mm.
into the uveitis with horses and what's the vitality of the eye and, can we shift that lacrimal bone back and what products are needed to bring the vitality of the eye back up.
So do
So
you
then I
think that
just,
if I coconut pull, continue swishing with colloidal silver and can heal whatever this is? I thought it was just they were sensitive. The pain is usually if I drink something hot or cold. That's when it really,
right.
and the pain will shoot right up into the top of my head. It is so painful. And it's
But it's
funny that
usually
the,
because the gums are receding and there's
Mhm.
pockets and all that
Yep,
kind of stuff. I
yep,
tell people in your 50s, that's when you get a wake up call about body issues and start taking care of it
right,
better. And you better
right.
start flossing and water picking because in your 60s, you're going to be worried about your teeth.
Yeah, and I am.
And the worst thing you can do, even though we supposedly need fluoride, is because that's so bad for women, is to be
Yes,
swishing with something that has
no,
fluoride in it.
I won't.
It
I
says,
won't do
call
fluoride.
Poison Control Center if you ever swallow it in your toothpaste and your mouthwash.
Like you're not going to absorb it in an oral
I know.
cavity? Are you kidding me right now? I won't touch it. Absolutely not. But
So
I have to get back to my coconut pulling on a
on
regular.
the doTERRA app, I can pull up everything for gums and teeth and it'll tell you what oils. to use. And
Mhm.
so I make that in my mouthwash with frankincense and lavender and peppermint and a whole bunch of other
Okay.
ones and a little bit of coconut oil. And I just walk around swishing that. And it's antibacterial and antiviral. So even after social events and stuff, I'm making sure that, I'm taking care of my throat and my gums to not catch something from someone else.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mm.
even before COVID, when I was flying 50,000 miles a year teaching, I was always coming back with a little something because you'd been in, traveling 20 hours, eating airplane food and all of this. And I had a little nose spray bottle and I'd taken out, putting colloidal silver in it. And before I'd go into the airport, I would just do a drop in each eye and a sniff up each nose. And you could, put it on your fingers after touching the seatbelt or something. And then all of a sudden I wasn't like sick every time I was coming back, from a trip. So I was doing that even before COVID started. There's just so many things out there, and our immune systems are not what they are, and we're not assimilating. And the same thing with the horses, that there's no minerals in their feed anymore naturally, so we're giving them man-made stuff instead of them roaming and foraging for what they need. So our foals are being born weaker. And
Yes.
how many shots do they want to give, an infant before it leaves the hospital? It's not the vaccinations in the horses and everyone, it's the preservatives. So there was, thimerosal, which is mercury, as a preservative and carrier. And then a lot of them switched out to MSG. And I had a pharmacist friend, and she says, I'm in a quandary. I'm not allowed to ask people if they're allergic to MSG. And it's in this shot I'm giving them. So it's not about, the vaccination of the killed virus. It's about the carriers and preservatives
Right.
that's in it.
Right. Oh my gosh. Mm.
So I try to teach that muscle testing, to all my clients so they can ask every day, what's my vitality? What's the vitality of this tooth? So yours is a little bit better, but not as good as it's going to be. And it's really hard for me to go around on Maui with my friends and just see people and not say, oh, lung, oh, yeast, candida, and parasites and intestines. I just have to see people that are friends because they didn't ask me,
Mm.
for reading or intuitive or something. I just have to let them go, let them do their thing unless they ask.
Yeah. I can see why that would be hard. Like, no, don't let me. Oh, I can't help it. I already did. Okay. Don't say a word. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm asking anytime you want, April, you just voluntarily, hey, Kimber, we got an issue here. I'm reading it and you need to take care of it. Okay, thank you.
That's what
Trust
we
me.
did. I said, I'm going to
Yes.
do a reading on you and we're going to talk about this.
Woo! And I knew I needed it, April. I knew, it was a weird sensation to feel like I was moving quickly through a tunnel to doomsday, truly health-wise. I just knew it. I felt it and I was like, I am killing myself in so many different ways. I feel this. I don't care how active I am. I don't care how good I am about eating healthy foods, whole foods, organic foods, raw milk, Berkey water system that changed because of you. I had the system. You were the one who said, don't give your horse. So my horse has the filtration system on the hydrant now. My dog only gets Berkey water that's gone
No,
through the,
so many people are feeding their pets from the tap water and
I
then wondering
was.
when the tumors come up and all the issues come up. And, again, the stuff that's the preservative and carrier and the vaccines, but also, the preservatives in the food. But most, city water out of the tap, or people say, oh, we're well water. And I'm like, well, you should get it tested because not everyone knows you're supposed to bleach your well every year because things, bugs, mice fall in it and die, and, we would do that on my place. And then, at night, and then you just run all the faucets in the house first. And then we would run all the horses' hoses out before we filled the water again. But people are like,
Yeah.
oh, I have good well water. I said, and how long ago was it tested? And so you can put, once you get your yeses and nos really good, you can put your hand in the water and ask anything bacterial, anything viral affecting my horses. I was in the Netherlands teaching, and everywhere we went, I'd always like put my hand in the water and I go, oh, the water. And they were making coffee and tea with this water. I go, this is really bad. We really shouldn't. No, absolutely not. And one of the ladies there had so many health issues. So we bought all this bottled water and they looked into it because they had something like 40 horses there and the whole water system had been down and nobody'd known. And they're like, you caught it, April. Our horses have been having health issues. We've been having health issues. And we thought this water system was working. And over in Europe, coffee, tea all day long. So they're always doing it. And boiling the water didn't change, iron, calcium, anything being too high or can just throw you so out. And the horses, the iron and high calcium in the waters really mess up their systems. That's why I recommend putting on the inline hose filter that you would get for an RV
That's what I did. Yeah.
once a month for your horses to give them a more pure water. Because a lot of the horse issues is they're not drinking as much water as they want to because it doesn't smell or taste good.
Mm,
And the
well,
same thing with your dogs if you're doing the tap water.
right. Well, yeah, neither Dakota nor Dami, both of them are getting the filtered water now.
And you should notice that they're drinking more.
Oh, they are. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, are they? I'm like, oh, for crying out loud, I got to fill the Berkey again because you like empty your water dish. And I feel like I just filled it. It's true. It's multiple times a day. Same with the water tanks for the horses. Same thing. I'm not worried about their hydration because, and you know what changed too with Dakota that I noticed? His eyes got shinier, more vibrant, like in a beautiful. I noticed it. I was editing a video that I did of him in a grooming session that I videoed of him because I love you all viewers, but some of you really love the grooming and you love the barn chore videos for they just love them. It's like ASMR. But as I'm watching in the video, I'm like, his eyeballs seem like they have more life to him since I've made all these changes to his diet, the RV filter on the hydrant, NCD, this yoga, I mean, all of it combined. And I'm looking and I'm like, if I didn't know any better, looking at him from this angle, he doesn't look like the same horse that I had. It's really different. His
The first time I go
personality.
up to a horse, their eyes are so dull and flat. And
Yes,
after we do all of this, the black part in the pupil gets so clear and dark, like they're
yes.
aware and stuff, and they're bright, like they actually want to not just tolerate the day, they actually want to engage with us in the day. And what are we doing today, Mom? We're stretching? All right.
That's what he looks like. It's like your eyes change so much. They have so much more life. They are darker and they're like this, where they were like this. It's if I didn't video it to really, because I got to sit here and stare and I'm like, whoa, that doesn't even look like Dakota's face anymore. It's so different. And the smile on his face, like literally has a smile on his face. Of course, he's just become a bigger, pardon my French, shithead because he's a practical prankster all the time, you know. And like, oh my gosh, your personality is like
Is
insane. And I
coming
love it.
out. He's not so shut down. But what I really like is that I'm empowering you to do this. And all I have to do is give you little tools and nothing costs $1,000 and
No,
how to prevent colic and what to do for your wounds. You're going to throw out everything, that's in your medicine chest. Never cold water, fresh hose that wound like we've been told. And
yeah.
just everything this common sense. And everyone's like, wow, you really do just give us common sense things. Yeah, pure water. The horse is hydrated now. His eyes are alive. He's not all and
The
trapped emotions in you. So now you and the horse are kind of healing together.
Mm-hmm. It was beautiful. That session we had for hours the other night in the barn, the grooming. I washed his tail and scrubbed his legs and all. And it was so much fun. You know, interaction between the two. I didn't even want to leave the barn, like I didn't want to go home. I just wanted to just stay. And I could feel that he just wanted me to hang out with him too. And he's always been a very he's my heart horse. We're so connected anyways, but I really felt over the past year that we were both struggling with a lot, and just
And
really
I
trying
like
to
to
be
be the
stoic.
person that kicks you in gear.
And you did, and you did. And as I said, the first few times doing the yoga stretches, the carrot stretches, and the butt tucks, and I'm still working out. I don't quite have the feel for the belly lift, I'm still having it, but it'll come. But like when I do that butt tuck, and I go like this, and then I go, and I play, and I watch that go up like this, and that's when I'll hear a groan. And it happened with both Goose and Dakota. And I remember what you said about, if your horse is colicking and they have trapped gas, like do that and you get it. It's like that's got to feel good to get a groan out of a horse, and then they lick and chew after they go, and then they go, and then the pole just starts dropping, and it's like, whoa, that is so empowering to know that you have relief in the tips of your fingers for a horse that could be in a lot of pain. I'm so grateful that I wasn't terrified of learning something new to the point that I wouldn't try it and then just keep at it until I finally got the feel down with it and watch the results happening. So grateful.
I'm always
Thank
like,
you.
go try it, watch my video again, have someone watch you, see if you're doing it. And, I always offer, I do Zoom sessions for people. You have to have, in cross ties and someone holding the camera, but I fine tune your moves, like, get inside that knee and up and over and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And then, as you know, my horse app is coming out hopefully the end of April
I know.
2025 of what's really wrong with my horse, Holistic Horseworks Remedies. So when you're at the barn and you're waiting 4 hours for the vet, you can scroll through my videos and my blogs and everything. What would she do for this wound? I actually went through, if your horse is lame, here's all the things that you check. Here's how you palpate the tendons. Here's how you check the hooves and everything. So I'm really excited about doing that. And then, as you know, I'm offering Maui Wellness Days. You get to come to Maui and
Yes.
stay at my house and go to beaches and walk on sand. And then, like I said, I already started working with them like I started working with you at home. So they're already feeling better. So it's not like you go somewhere and you're expecting this huge detox crash. So you don't even enjoy your vacation. We're working up to it. And then, I'm scanning the body and actually working on you like when you're here. So, they're just, people say it's just life changing, stuff from childhood. You're like, wow, I really
Mhm.
needed to sit on the side of the freeway and cry for 30 minutes. I've never let myself just do that. But if you look at Dr. Bradley Nelson, which I use a lot of, grief is lungs, anger is liver, fear is kidneys, all those emotions. And if you look at chiropractic charts, emotions affect chiropractic. So, everything is so connected, and treating just one part of that isn't going to work. If you're not
Mhm.
assimilating nutrition, you're never going to, do good. I was working on someone on the table and I'm like, wow, you're not assimilating any nutrients to feed your thyroid, and your throat chakra is totally shut down. She goes, oh, I have Hashimoto's. And I said, well, yeah, that's your thyroid not working. And this is what we're talking about. You're not assimilating anything that feeds, and thyroid is usually, and throat chakra is usually you not speaking your truth of your needs from your heart to your family, your friends, or whatever. And people are like, oh, you're so right on. I
Mhm.
said, that needs to change if you want this area of your body to heal.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. And now you can understand after you looked at my 54 stuck emotions, there were many, many, I feel, organs in my body that were being affected by so many emotions, trapped emotions. I knew that, the chest pains that wouldn't let up. And I'm talking, this has been 10 years of chest pains like that.
Is that better now? I kept getting
Oh,
everything
heck
was
yeah.
just
It's all,
blocked right in here on
no,
you.
it's gone. It is
Good.
gone. And the weird thing was
And
allowing
this is only,
myself,
we have to tell the people, we just started this last Thursday.
yeah,
This has
just
only
this
been
past
4 days.
Thursday, four
Yeah.
days, absolutely. But I knew because of how much Dakota's life has improved. His life and health and emotions have improved just by following, getting this 8-page reading for Dakota and me going through it and like I'm gonna take care of that.
It's
I'm gonna
all
take care of
step by
doing this.
step. Just
Yep.
you just check it off the list. Do this,
Yep.
do this, do this, do this.
So when you sent me mine, I was like, okay, I'm on it. But the crazy thing was the chest pain's gone. The chest pain's, and I was feeling it for what I felt like was no reason, no good reason. Like there's nothing happening right now. I've got chest pain and I feel lifeless. And that should not be, right? Where's my euphoria? I'm not experiencing that in the slightest bit. And again, years of not feeling it. And then this past weekend, especially yesterday, I had such a feeling of literal euphoria that just felt so freeing. I'm like, I can breathe. I'm happy. I feel happy. And I'll be honest, even the tooth pain, in all honesty, is diminished. It is diminished. I,
Once you draw attention to it, and my ways are always easy. Here's a passive detox. You don't have to suck down cod liver oil. I have a passive way for yeast, candida, and parasites in the intestines. There's all these easier ways. Most detoxes dump stuff in liver and kidneys that can't handle it. So how can we passively get better with something that'll fit in my busy day? Like women that are like, I can never lose weight, but their posture is like this. And you have that fatty hump right here because of the posture. So I tell them to do the Alexander technique. It's lay on a book, and you can Google that. If you look at people that stand up straight military, okay, they don't have weight. As soon as our shoulders come forward from the first rib misalignment and your neck comes forward and you're compressing your diaphragm, and your lungs and your thyroid, you're not getting oxygen,
so let
So
me
as
ask
we
you,
open
April.
all of this,
Okay, I'm sorry. I just interrupted you. How am I going to get this aligned,
you're going to come
unstuck?
visit me in Maui.
Oh, I want to. I want to. As I've,
Yeah, I do have it on my YouTube channel. So I have over 200 on the Holistic Horseworks YouTube channel. And if you go across the top, you'll see podcasts, but you also see playlists. So you'll see arthritic horses, you'll see wounds, you'll see a people one. And on that list is how to get your yes no divine pendulum so that it's in your body. So I don't use a pendulum like this. You can use
mm-hmm,
your fingers.
mm-hmm.
But once I turn that yes no on in your body and you're expanding or leaning forward for your yes, when the vet says, I want to give your horse a shot, you're going to be rocking back on your feet as a big no. But it's to empower my clients not to say no, but to say, I don't feel good about that. What are my other, you know, possibilities? Well, there's this new experimental drug, don't know much about it, and you lean forward. Great, I'll take that one. It's just to empower people that, I've had people hand me something that said organic or a glass of water, and I leaned back without even thinking about it, going, yeah, there's something in that water that my body isn't going to want. So I try to empower people to do this, and then it changes their life, their kids' life, their husband's life. Because the wives are like, I'm doing this, you're doing it too, because I'm not going to be healthy and active and wiping your butt in bed while you are on the machines because you're not doing this stuff. You're doing this with me. We
Yes.
are doing this. And I stayed at someone's house teaching a clinic, and they were an older couple. And it was so funny. He would get up, didn't like to eat or drink, just have his coffee, get out on the tractor, just, low blood sugar, dehydrated, everything, come in, have a beer, and like sleep all afternoon. So we started putting the distilled water in the coffee maker because it has to be distilled water when you're doing the NCD, right? And we put a whole bunch of drops in that. So he was getting the NCD in his coffee. And all of a sudden, he started taking 2 frozen bottles of water out on his tractor, coming in, eating lunch, and having energy all afternoon just from detoxing and hydrating. And the wife's like, "Stick you, April."
Oh,
He's
I
like, I'm
love it.
feeling better, honey. Yeah, I had some lunch and no, I don't want a beer today. I'm just not craving that.
Yeah.
The same thing with people that crave the carbs, and the bagels
Mhm.
and the bread. That's the yeast candida and parasites that wants
They
to be
want to get
fed.
fed.
I use doTERRA Digestin and doTERRA oregano oil. It's one of the few brands that says, certified pure internal consumption. In 2 days, they no longer have the craving. So, what is easier to say that I can't have that thing every day and make yourself miserable, or work on the yeast candida and parasites internally and not crave it anymore? Go, wow, I
Right.
really want a salad instead of that bagel.
I just had a salad before I got on this, and it was delicious and so satisfying. And I was in the grocery store the other morning with my 94-year-old friend. And I'm watching what's in everyone else's carriages, and the first place you hit in the store is the bakery with the cupcakes and the cheesecakes and all that. And I looked and I'm like, no thanks. And I went and I got my apples and I got my clementines, and I'm like, I'm good. And I'm not craving that at all. But if I
But
did a
that was
steady
because we
diet,
started with the passive heavy metal detox, which has you actually craving now the things that your body, the vitamin C and everything.
yes, yes, I had a bunch of tomatoes in my salad today and zucchini and
Tomatoes and
different things.
potatoes are nightshades and they add to inflammation.
Oh, that's true too. They are
Yeah.
nightshade.
So
I'm
nightshades are
thinking
always going
vitamin
to
C.
add to inflammation, bread, sugars, cancer, candida, yeast, all of that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So I just teach an easier way to make slow changes in our life that are like lifelong kind of changes of what we
Mm-hmm.
crave and what we want to intake. So you just have to know I'm feeling pretty good today, and I'm just going to take extra of this to balance out that, like sushi, having mercury in it. So I'm just going to take extra this to balance out the mercury I ingested. It's just, I want to have a good life. And I do like that food once in a while. So what can I do to balance out so I'm not in pain later? So you're
Gotcha.
not going to eat tomatoes and potatoes when you're out gardening all day, because when you go to bed, you're going to wake up hurting, right?
Yeah. Okay. I just feel like I should just eliminate those things. I can live without them. Truly, I can. Truly, I can. They
It's
don't,
just a balance.
yeah. I am that person who could, I hope you're not vegan, but I could grill up a steak and just, or prepare a steak and just eat that and be perfectly happy, or scramble 4 eggs and I'm good, I
That's
like
me
my
too. Yeah.
proteins. I love my
I can
proteins.
have vegetables for like 5 days and then I might just do a steak. I don't need the whole meal.
Yes.
I'm like,
I
I had
did.
the salad for lunch. I'm just going to have the steak for dinner.
That's kind of what's going to happen tonight too. Yes, I have a porterhouse in there. I'm like, yep. And I usually share it with my baby Dami. Yeah, she's my significant other.
Well, we'll have to get you to Maui so I can work on the first ribs on yours. I do have that on the video. So if you go to the people thing on Holistic Courseworks on YouTube, you'll see how to do your own first rib. So
Okay.
chiropractors and everyone is missing, the first rib release. So sometime
Hmm.
in the past, usually before age 12, when you take a fall off a bike or a horse or something and your
All the
neck
above.
went this way,
Hmm.
um, the neck muscles pull up the first rib. So it's just up. But what happens is the collarbone can't move out of the way. So I had this problem where, short little neck, I gained 60 pounds heavier than I am now because of posture in the first ribs, and both my collarbones were out. The chiropractor had said, boy, both your collarbones are out. Had a bad fall. Yeah, right. And
Which
train
one?
horses, and stuff, and getting all of that in alignment, and your posture changes. And women are like, wow, I could put my shoulders out and down without having to force it. So I'm one of the few people I developed that move. So there's a video on how to do your own first rib, and
Okay.
also the Alexander technique on the people. So on Holistic Courseworks, you'll see all the um, like little channels in their lists, and then you can find the people one. That will be how to get your yeses and nos, how to adjust your own first rib, and the Alexander technique for better posture gets rid of migraines and headaches, which is your occiput being too tight, in your atlas and one, and usually dropped on one side. So your brain's not getting that oxygen and you get the headache. That migraine is, your brain screaming, I'm not getting enough oxygen. I'll tell people when you're laying in the dark room, flat on your back, have your knees and feet a little bit elevated.
Mm-hmm.
And then the blood and oxygen, as your neck is straight, can kind of help that situation. And they notice that they get out of it faster. But just doing that Alexander technique for 10 minutes a day, usually after a week, they don't have the migraines anymore. So it's
Wow.
always a reason when people said, "Oh, what do you do about this disease?" I said, "Well, we look up what it is in the body and what the body needs." Cushing, tumor on the pituitary. So what's happening to the pituitary, and what is the cancer causing ingredients that's in the horse's body that's making the cancer and the tumor?
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Cushing's, Dakota was diagnosed with that a year ago and started on the percent. And I just struggle with that. I changed his diet completely. He gets the stable feed seasons biome. It's a whole food, no fillers, no bad
So you're
anything. And
spending all this money to treat the symptom
I don't
instead
want
of
that. I want
working on
the
why he
cause.
has the Cushing, right?
Right. So
We
I'm,
work on that in my level 3 class with the cranial decompression. So if you go up
mhm,
your horse, when your horse's head is down, and like their nose is down here, and you go up the forehead, feel
mhm,
under the forelock, those little
mhm,
bones, they're
mhm,
supposed to be really high and prominent.
mhm,
And the knotted rope halters, when they were young, or another type of halter when a 3-month-old or 4-month-old foal struggles, it shoves that all down and compresses the hypothalamus and the pituitary. And then all the chemical wormers and vaccines are the cancer causing agents. So we've done my level 1, 2, and 3 on horses, and they've detoxed and everything, and we got them off all of that. But we noticed that if they had to go back to vaccinations and wormers, the symptoms came back.
sure.
So if that client decides they don't ever want to have to keep buying this stuff and injecting their horse, when they're 15, 20, they've had enough shots for a lifetime. You can do titers and take blood and see that your horse has all the antibodies for that.
Mhm, mhm,
So what can we do? There's natural dewormers, there's homeopathic no-sodes for, strangles, and West Nile, and, East and Western, that if you look up homeopathic vet online and no-sodes, NOSODES, you can find a holistic way to boost the horse's immune system.
mhm, mhm.
And it's usually the horses that had 5 to 6 different shots in a day that are the sick ones and the ones having issues. And, the show horses or horses that were under the overhead chemical fly sprays coming down in their feed and water. And they say, oh, it's all natural. It might be all natural, but it's not all natural to the horse's diet. It is now in their eyes, in their hay, in their shavings, in their water bucket, and in their feed.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. It makes
If you
sense.
want to get rid of flies, just have your diatomaceous earth, those like
Mhm.
Mrs. Fields cookies for horses. I'd put it in a little plastic thing, poke holes, and then when you're going down with a manure, you just kind of lightly sprinkle that, right? And you sprinkle, I put it in a garbage bag with little holes on the bottom and just sprinkle in the stalls, and you'll have hardly any flies within a 10-day period if that its protocol is kept up.
The diatomaceous earth. Is it the food grade one or does it matter?
If you think a dog, chicken, or horse is going to eat it, then yes. If
Okay.
you're not
Now,
worried about it, then you can do the swimming pool filter one.
okay. I have heard that I would just to be safe, just in case, I would do the food grade. What about actually giving that to your horse, the diatomaceous earth?
We've done that. So Dynamite has a
Yep.
product called Excel. So you can do the feed through. But if you're at a barn with 30 horses, the sick horses are going to be sharing it through the flies and stuff. It's just
Hmm.
a way to get all that down instead of doing, the chemical overhead fly spray.
Gotcha. So I'm totally on board with that. I used to buy the diatomaceous earth in 5-gallon buckets, and I would treat my manure piles. Um, but I stopped doing it because I was also buying the Spalding fly predators, and they said you can't do the diatomaceous earth is going to harm the fly predators. So, okay, so no
Yeah,
fly
but if you have
predators. I'm
an
going to go to
ant
the
pile, like, red ants or bees or ground hornets or something, you just put that circle around it and they
and they're
can't
not
cross it
going.
because it's when they walk through it, it cuts open the exoskeleton. So if you're
Yes.
layering that in your manure pile, you're not going to be
Okay.
breeding flies out there.
Sure. Well, guess who's going to be ordering another 5-gallon bucket of that? That would be me because I am like I am insane when it comes to flies. I hate them and I will do everything in my power to eradicate them. I hate to see a poor horse just stomping and aggravated by it. I don't want to be aggravated by it. I think they're a useless insect. I don't
Yeah,
know
you
what their
just
use is, like
sprinkle it
ticks.
over, where they pee, sprinkle it
Hmm.
over, wet poop and just take care of it. And with people, like I said, we have the other things to kind of help the body shed yeast, candida, and parasites. Here, the swimmers get it and the surfers in the water when we have brown water days, and my friends like coming up with freshwater flukes and stuff who surfs all the time. So it's always just what's in your environment and then what does the body need to not have this issue? What does she have to ingest before and after surfing, since they're getting it in their eyes and their mouth when they're tumbling, in the waves and the water.
And
So
what
I
is
help.
that? What are they ingesting?
She has freshwater flukes.
Freshwater flukes. The fish?
Flukes? No, it's like a parasite, a worm.
What?
Yeah. So it's, just like with
I'm
raw local
taking notes.
tuna and the pokey and stuff. So yeah, it's always fun to call and chat and,
Interesting.
so that's when I ask about yeast, candida, and parasites and what does the body need to shed this? Because if you are at
Hmm.
such a high vibration, you're not going to be a magnet for that. You have a lot
Mm.
of fleas in the home, dust the dog with diatomaceous earth in their beds. How do you get
Hmm.
rid of that? I remember we had to flea bomb homes with, one of my dogs. It was so bad. We just pick off like 30 and put them in the toilet and watch them drown. It was so bad.
Wow. Wow,
We're going to
wow,
have to get
wow.
you out to Maui so you can come have a Maui wellness day and be
Mm.
pampered by me.
Yeah, we'll have to put that out into 2026 because I have some trips coming up and because I oversee the care of this 94-year-old. I've already got 2 trips booked and I just don't, it's like I can't do too much. It's not fair to anybody,
Thank you,
so I got to
universe,
space them
for
out.
making this easy for me now.
Amen. Oh my gosh. I'm looking at my notes.
Yeah, one of your other chronic ones, like B6, benefits the central nervous system and metabolism. Its role
Hmm.
includes turning food into energy and helping to create neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine. So it's interesting, if you look up all the vitamins and stuff, if you don't have that in your body, all the symptoms that you are going to have, because I'll show this to people and they go, yeah, I'm taking all that, but you're not assimilating it.
Right. That was me. I'm like, I'm taking all of these things, but I'm not surprised that you said I was not assimilating them because of my symptoms, because of what I intuitively felt was going on. It like my body just should feel so much better if all these things are being assimilated. And I did not feel better because of that protocol. So I knew things needed to be clear. Do you think it is my stuck emotions? Is it a combination of that, the stuck emotions and parasite load? I mean, oh.
All of that came.
If you're loving this content, a quick like and subscribe will really help the channel. Doesn't cost you anything, and it means the world to me. Thanks for being here.
Everybody has that. Everybody
Yeah.
has yeast candida and parasites just from stuff we eat, especially people with pets or dogs that lick their face.
Hmm.
Yeah, so many people, oh, it's so cute when my dog licks my face. Yeah, it just licked its butt. Yep.
Oh,
Or it just went over and it ate that poop.
right. That dead rodent. Mm.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
used to have a
Oh my
dog that
God.
would jump up if you were smiling and lick the inside of your mouth. I was like, okay.
Oh, oh.
But I also had, a student come to class that had been working with a naturopath on pinworms and parasites. And for years I said, did he ever even ask what you do for work or a living? No, none of the doctors do. So what do you do? I work on Amish horses in the barn. So no hot soapy water, no cleaning your hands. You're eating lunch, you're touching the steering wheel, you're picking up your phone, you're rubbing your eyes, and you're eating. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's how you keep getting infected. So let's bring some kind of spray that you can clean your hands in between with essential oils and wipe your phone, clearing your steering wheel, all that kind of stuff. And she had taken, I think it was in the class we muscle test how much to take. She did 7 drops of oregano, of the doTERRA oregano oil, which I said, you didn't ask the full question. How much could you take and still stay in April's class? I was looking for her in the afternoon. She was in the bathroom. I'm like, are you okay? And she was laughing. She says, I have parasites coming out. I'm throwing them up. I'm pooping them out. She says, oh my God. And I'm not even nauseous or sick, but they're leaving. And it totally changed her life. She says, next time I'm going to ask, yeah, 4 would have been good and still be in the class, out in the barn doing horse work. But it
Whoa.
changed
So,
her life. It cut that whole circle. Nobody's asking, what do you do for work? Where are you getting this infection or these issues or these emotions, And how do you need to change that little scenario? Your workstation, do you have your Wi-Fi on at night? My Wi-Fi is on a just plug-in timer in the wall, goes off at 11:30, back on at 5:30. You're sleeping with your Wi-Fi on, you're in apartments with everybody else's Wi-Fi, you're going to have health issues. You
hmm,
need that deep REM sleep.
what about it's before you did this distance reading and the Healy scan on me? I did, and it was probably too much, but I did a week and a half of oregano oil, and I ended up getting, you talk about a purge, so sick. It was coming out of every orifice. I'm sorry about being graphic, but do you think that was
You always want to ask the full question. What can I take today and still, keep up
function?
with? I have another appointment I got to get to. So the
Oh, okay.
question is, what can I do today and still function? So when I do a whole deep session on a horse and we're shifting cranial bones, I'm going to ask, what are you doing with them in the next week? Oh, we're going to a show this weekend. Okay, well, we're not going to do this, this, and this. So it's always, what do I have to do today? What can I take? What's the best time of day to take it,
Mhm.
for all of that? Because I like the passive heavy metal detox. People can go into fibromyalgia from detoxing too fast.
No kidding. Wow. Yeah,
So
I was
everything
kind of
has to
doing
be
it blind.
passive and gradual and stuff.
I didn't do it that way and it caught up with me, but I was in such a state of being that I was desperate. I'm like, I know there's something, I probably have a parasite overload. There's just something. I'm not well. I'm not well. I'm not well. I'm not well physically and I'm not well emotionally. So I thought, let's just start with a good detox. And whoa, when I tell you it felt like it was going to kill me. Quite honestly, I think a week and a half was way too much, but I didn't ask. I didn't ask the important questions.
Yeah, that's
I know
just a
better.
judgment. So like when people you had sent me, your pictures and I do my scan and then I kind of give you step by step things. How many drops for how many days and then this is the next step and this is the next step because people have a healing crisis. They'll say, "Oh yeah, I tried that. I, got sick or felt bad after." So it's how can we do it in a passive supportive way so you can still take care of the kids, the horse, the dog, the
Right.
PTA meetings, and everything else that we're doing and get a deeper restful sleep at night. If you're not getting your supplements, assimilate in your body. You're not getting that deep REM sleep without Wi-Fi and phone next to you, then you're struggling uphill all day long.
Right. That makes sense. But April, I know we got to get you out of here. You have another appointment. So I can't come out to Maui right away. What do I do next?
Every time you say I can't, you make it.
Oh, my NLP. It's
Put your hand on your heart. Thank you, guides and angels and higher self.
thank
Yes,
you,
say it.
guides and angels and
Angels
higher self
and your higher self for making it possible
for making it possible
to easily afford
to easily afford
visiting April on Maui.
visiting April on Maui. I like that. I love that. I should know
And
better.
then things
Studied neurolinguistics.
just show up. Every time you say, I can't, we put that stop. So don't own bad eyesight, don't own cancer, don't own things. Just say the doctor's opinion is this. My
Mm-hmm.
opinion is this. What does this area of my body need to change and thrive? People
Gotcha.
don't like it when I tell them you need 3 colonics within 21 days because your colon's right on the other side of your uterus, and then your uterus will be healthier. They're right there next to each other.
That's something else I want to explore too. The gentleman that I told you about, he and his wife, stage 4 cancer, and that they highly recommend colonics. He's like, oh, you got to do this. We have our
Yeah.
colonic day here at the house, So
Yeah.
that's something else I will be exploring. And I agree with you. Someone who studied neurolinguistic programming, I know better as far as words and the meaning. And I would stop if I were coaching someone and I heard them say that I would do just as you did. So thank you for that because now I have called attention to it and I'll be more mindful of that. But what
Thank you
can
for
I
my
do until
perfect
I'm back?
eyesight.
Thank you for my perfect eyesight.
Thank you for my perfect healthy gums.
Thank you for my
That's what,
perfect
as
healthy
you're
gum.
doing that swish, that would be your affirmation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're making the affirmation, which sets your intention while you're actually doing something for it, makes it more beneficial.
Sure.
Otherwise, it's like the person that gets on the massage table and your brain leaves and you're thinking about work and your massage is over and you're like, did I even feel it? Because I wasn't present. I would do that. I would just say, okay, work on the body. And then I'd be gone and like, yeah, I think I feel a little better. Now we try and focus on where their hands are, where they're feeling, what's the energy. And I'm trying to stay present with that. It makes a big difference.
Mm,
All right. Well, we'll
absolutely.
talk again soon. And we're going to
Very
check up
good.
on you after I do more distance Healy sessions on you.
I'm excited. I thank you. This is life changing. This is life changing. The links are in the description box, folks. Don't hesitate. You don't have to live stuck in your emotions and stuck in pain. There is life after all of this and a good life, and you owe it to yourself. And trust me, this has been an absolute eye opener and life changing experience for me. Thank you, April.
I feel better at 63 than I did when I was 43.
I love it.
Thank you,
Yes.
Kimberly. Love you.
All
All
right. Love you too. We'll see you soon.
righty.
Bye
Bye.
now. Before we end this interview, well, we did end it already. I just want to take a moment to thank April for holding such an incredibly safe, powerful space for me and for so many others doing this deep inner work. What she uncovered and cleared in me over the weekend has shifted something that I didn't even fully understand until it was gone. I have felt lighter, more emotionally clear, and for the first time in a very long time, hopeful in a way I hadn't realized I was missing. That's no small thing. This kind of work, it's not just about energy or trauma, it's about liberation. It's about finally laying down the burdens we've carried, whether they started with us or were passed down generations before. Thank you, April, for being a part of that healing and for showing others that this kind of freedom is indeed possible. The work you're doing is not only transformational, it's vital for the healing of mankind. Thank you.